Okay, hi everybody, and we're back here with Jeremy today. It's very exciting to see him, and we also have another guest with the high performance consultant Dejan Papic, and of course our moderator Adam Sharara. So over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Thorsten. Just a few words in French for the French viewers. Ça, c'est la deuxième partie d'une discussion avec Jeremy Hazin, membre de l'équipe nationale. Mais il y aura d'autres discussions avec des athlètes francophones et on vous tiendra au courant. Okay, so this is the second part of our conversation with Jeremy, a national team member and also qualifier for the Olympic Games representing Canada. And we've asked our high performance consultant, Dejan Papic, to join us because there's some questions we discussed in the first part that concern the national team. And Dejan is the expert in that. So he will advise and also get some information from Jeremy, how to proceed from January on until the Olympic Games. So just to summarize, last time we ended the conversation with Jeremy saying that at the Olympic Games, he will focus match per match. First, he gave us this long, very correct kind of answer that you give to the press and that you give to the to the other people. But to us at the end, he says that he will focus on the matches. He will not get involved in all the secondary activities during the Olympics. He says he had that experience already at the Pan American Games. And he, when I asked him, what will be your goal? Like, what do you want to achieve? There's the goal based on ranking, the expectation, but then there's the dream goal, the one that you really want to be able to get. And he said he will treat it match by match by match. He wants to be super ready. So if, for example, the opponent is distracted by the other activities and so on, he can beat him and he can move to the next match, even if the opponent is stronger than him, because this is possible. I had given several examples of what happened before with Canadians who were ranked very low and then finished in the top, like number 9 in the doubles in 1988, because they were able to beat the best in the world, because the best in the world were distracted. So this is something that's quite important. Today, what we will discuss is a few points, and Dejan will participate in that. But before, I want to get some information from you, Jeremy. I've watched you play a lot of matches.
Okay.
I would say if we would have to categorize you as a type of player internationally, and Dejan maybe can agree or disagree, I would bring you very close to the type of player that Samsonov is, you know, Vladimir Samsonov. Playing a little bit far from the table, very steady, and waiting for the opponent to make a mistake. And if there's an opening, you're able to try and make the point, especially you use your backhand with a lot of angle, and sometimes you step in with your forehand. The difference is that Samsonov has this incredible ability to smell or to sense, I don't know, Dejan maybe can use the technical term, when he can make the point. So even though he looks like he's just retrieving, and he's not just doing that. And you have that ability too. He's actually placing the ball in difficult positions, more spin, sometimes variation of spin to the opponent to make an opening for himself. But he does it from a defensive position, you know, and then he's able to attack with his backhand. Sometimes you see him far from the table and he smashes with his backhand, or he comes in with his forehand and you don't know where the ball is going because he has a huge long arm and he can change, you know, the angle of the wrist at the last moment in any direction. You have those abilities too, up to a certain degree, especially the defensive part and your ability to see where the opponent is and where to place the ball. Where I think, and maybe Dan can or you can disagree, of course, is that to finish the point at the right moment when you get the opportunity, sometimes you miss the opportunity. Sometimes you're engaged in, you know, the positioning. And
yeah, a lot of times actually.
Oh, you know that, okay? Because then time I see,
Yeah.
now he can make the point and you're still positioning, you know? So you're giving the opponent the chance to come back. Whereas Samsonov never gives any chance to any opponent.
Yeah, especially my match with Hugo Calderano. I did not bad. Obviously, he's one of the best in the world. I've actually had some chances to actually make the match closer than the score actually was. You know, there was a few times where he was fishing, but you know, it's not as simple as how it looks, right? Where you see Hugo using the two-handed backhand when he's lobbing. I never expected the ball to bounce so far back on the table. So these kind of things where it looks like I had the point, I could have made it like 8-8, but instead it was 9-7. And I actually had the chance to win the point. actually many of my matches, these things still occur. It's definitely something that I need to fix if I want to move on to the next level, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, good. It's good that you're aware of it. Of course, Samsonov has tons of experience. I mean, I saw him when he was 16 years old. He didn't have yet this ability that he has today. Today, he's very comfortable. And also because he knows the players very well, he can anticipate where the ball is going. So he's one step always ahead. I was just trying to compare the styles, general styles.
Okay.
But one thing, and after I'm finished with my observation, Dayan can also give his opinion. But one thing that I noticed about you, and that definitely Samsonov never does, and some of the top players in the world never do that. In between, in between points, I think is a very important stage of the match. When you go pick up the ball, or when you're toweling, or when you're just circling your side of the table, getting ready to serve or getting ready to receive. You're very busy during that time. I don't know how else to express it. You're extremely busy. You're having like a conversation with yourself. You're reviewing the point. You're pointing at things, and you're looking up. You're looking left. You're looking right.
Yeah.
Do that, right? Something of is all happening inside his head. He doesn't show it on the outside, and most of the top players never show it on the outside. Now, when you win the point, I like what you do. You're very happy that you won the point. You're respectful to the opponent. You're not like shouting in their face or something, but you're encouraging yourself in a very good way. But then you go a bit too far. You start talking about it, to yourself. Sometimes you're giving information to your opponent that you shouldn't give, like you say something like, oh, finally I did the right thing. Then he knows that's what you're going to do again, right? Or something, oh yeah, that's it. I have to do this, more. Again, he's
yeah, I understand what you're referencing to.
But when you're winning the point, it's not so bad. What I find is really, if I were in your place, I would try to avoid is when you lose the point. When you lose, you're making a lot of gestures. You're upset with yourself, and so on.
Well, I wouldn't say like I'm like upset with myself. Maybe from the way you see it, it looks like that, right? But it's like kind of like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. But in general, I enjoy playing, win or lose. Maybe you see a lot of expression. I think the expression is my love for the game and my passion for the sport. That is definitely something you don't really see in others as much as you see in me. I'm really passionate, and sometimes I'm over passionate. But in general, I'm not one of those players to get yellow cards or get angry, or I'm just show my expressions more in a negative way, but also in a positive way. Yeah.
Okay, so run us through how you feel and what you do when you win a point. What is your feeling at that moment? Like, are you losing control, or are you still pretty much in control?
I usually feel like, for me, since I was younger, because obviously there's a lot of habits from when I was younger. It all comes from the younger ages. I feel like most of the time I'm actually better when I'm losing by a few points. I feel like when I'm winning, I tend to be a lot more passive. Like, even when I have the chance to finish the point, I still choose to be passive. So definitely when I'm losing, I'm kind of play a little bit more relaxed, right? Like a perfect example, let's just say when I played Kanak last year in the Olympic trials for the team event. Let's say, for example, okay, he won the first set. I surprisingly won the second set because I didn't even expect to get a game. Okay, so I'm in the match now. It's 1-1. But as you can see, his level is higher than me at the moment. So he had an 8-4 lead. And probably everybody's probably thinking the same, Okay, Jeremy got one set. It's probably going to be 3-1. But he was leading 8-4 in the third set. And I managed to come back and win the third set 11-9. That's an example because I played relaxed. I changed my serve. But when I'm leading, I would never be able to do something like that. I try to do the same thing, but be even more passive than what I was doing before, which turns out in a negative way. From when I was younger, I was always, in many cases, I had the match. I was leading. I just couldn't close it. Not because of the opponent. Of course, the opponent played well. I give the opponent credit also. But the main reason was my failure to realize that I had to just continue taking the risk and being confident.
Okay, this what you just described, everybody knows about you. As a matter of fact, if I'm coaching another player against you, I will tell them, when you're leading, be very careful, because this Jeremy, he can come back from behind, and I've seen you come back from behind many times. I've seen you come back, you were down 10-4 once to Terence, I believe it was, and I see you come back also another time Same score?
9-4, I think. I think
9-4.
it was.
Okay.
With Hong Tao, I believe it was 9-4. I think it is. Yes.
And with Marco, maybe 10-4?
No, Marco was 2-0, 10-8. So he had match point on me. He was ready to beat me 3-0. Yeah.
So I've seen you many times making these comebacks, and this is a fantastic quality you have. And hopefully you keep it because you're able to fight back and you're able with your style to make the other person make errors and so on. At the international level, it's more difficult. As
That's hard.
Yeah. That Samsonov plays is very difficult, but he's able to do it because he's a very high level player. What I wanted more for you to tell us now, and especially that Dayan is here, is you're playing a game with whoever, Kanakja, as you said, and you lost a point. Its score is now 7-4, whatever. You lost a point. In between points, when you lose a point, how do you feel inside? Is it neutral? Are you very
on the inside, to be honest, it's really neutral. But on the outside, you can see it looks like I regret doing this, doing that. But on the inside, I'm very calm. But
so why are you giving all this additional?
It's just a natural instinct. It's just a natural instinct, and you can see from my matches when I was younger. Actually, I've done it more than before. Okay, maybe in my match with Kanak, I have to say, for that match, I was a bit too much. When I won the point, maybe I celebrated a bit too much. When I lost the point, maybe I overreacted too much. For that match, I would have to say that's not the normal me. That was a little bit too extreme. But normally what you see is actually a little bit calmer and everything. Yeah. And another thing I want to point out about
inside, you feel calm. Inside.
I'm calm. I'm either way, I'm fine. If I win or lose, I'm fine.
Some energy, physical energy.
Just I may have some regrets in me, but the expressions are a way to get it out as fast as possible.
Okay, before I let Dayan talk, I'll tell you one last thing. My observation. Sure. And of course, I'm not an active player like you are, and I'm not active coach like Dayan is. These are just my observations from a distance, right? So you just take it with a grain of salt. But there is something called emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to perform, not necessarily in sport, in anything, right? To perform always at the same level, your level, regardless of the external conditions. So for example, if you're a singer and you're on stage and you're nervous and so on, and there's ruckus going on, like a lot of noise or something, you're still able to perform without it affecting you. That's emotional intelligence. In sport, it's when, regardless of the score, regardless of the conditions around you, you're able to perform the best you can perform at that moment. So for example, some people say, I was playing the Ontario Open, I won it easily. And then against the players same level at the North American Open, I had trouble because I was nervous because of the title of the event, North American Open.
Oh, yeah, I completely understand.
Right? Whoa, but the table is the same. The opponent is the same. Everything is the same. It's just mental. So the emotional intelligence is the connection between the physical and the mental. You can be very strong mentally, but emotional intelligence is weak. You can be very strong physically, but you're paralyzed or you're going too fast or too hard when situations change. So people who have what's called high level of emotional intelligence, and this is one of them is Samsonov for sure, is that no matter how much pressure there is, he's still able to think correctly. He's still able to think about the strategy correctly. His body still moves the same way. This is also Ma Long and a lot of these very top players. You see that no matter what the score is, and you mentioned it, you should have taken more chances and so on. No matter what the score is, they will still perform what they're supposed to perform at that point. So that's why I was a bit concerned about how you felt inside in between points, because you're expressive and you're wasting, in my opinion, a lot of physical and mental energy by being so expressive in between points. Of course, it's good when you win the point, and so on, because that builds momentum. But you have to control this momentum. You can see players sometimes, they go overboard, and they start smashing the ball and missing everything. Okay, Dayan, what's your opinion about Jeremy when he plays matches? One thing we all can agree, he's the comeback king. That's what's going to be your nickname, the king of the comeback. But the rest of the game, what would you advise him? You need to unmute.
typing some of the comments when you were talking. So, yeah. So, well, I think that Jeremy generally matured a lot in a last, I would say, year or something like this, a little bit more than this, and mature very fast. When it comes to his playing style, I think it didn't change much, except that he accepted the fact that he occasionally that he needs to improve his attack. We worked with for this before the North American Olympic team trials, and he improved his forehand top spin. Is he close to Samsonov? I would like to share your enthusiasm, but I need to be also a little bit more pedagogical and to say that maybe a role model, but it's really still something not more than this. It's just a role model. I think he's maybe staying too close to table from a backhand side, doesn't allow him to play sometimes a good attack from a backhand, which makes him only focus on a block, as you said, and then when he's focused on a block, of course, he's just fishing for opponents' mistakes. Now, this change from defense to attack, it's very much connected to the killer instinct. I think actually knowing how Jeremy played in his junior stage, he improved this a lot, but there is still a lot of room to improve. When it comes to his psychological reaction, I think that this is where I see him maturing a lot. It's not so much seen in a game, but I would see on his reaction after the games and before the game. I must say that first time when I worked with him, I was very impressed when he was just 11, 12 years old, when he was a hope. And he has and still has this ability to, whatever is in this moment in him, he's able to give maximum. Now he is entering the world of serious table tennis. He's in the edge of this. I think that once when he made the first 100 in the world, he's now 150 for quite a long time. That can bring him in a group of really serious players, and now he needs to fight in next year or two very hard to get into this group. And then all these things what you told him, even if he feels good, as he said now, and calm in his mind, what he radiates is also very important. And he doesn't control this very well. But he really improved quite a lot, understanding what comments he can put, what is appropriate to speak with teammates, with the coaches. He improved this a lot because it's first time when we work after a long period of time on a Pan Am Games. I must say I was very nervous. Jeremy know for our famous meetings and my lectures. And I think these lectures will, with me, and we told the coaches that around him would more and more how he's maturing, going from lecturing to cooperation. If he keeps maturing like he is now maturing, so that would be more and more dialogue, and that can improve his confidence if he is able to listen. And what he proved to us that he is able to listen and to hear. Sometimes it's not obvious immediately, but you could see in a few weeks or a few months that he's really taking this. You know, he's like a kid who, when you tell him, he said, I know, I don't want to really to hear all of this, but if he's actually listening, in a long run, he's changing his behavior. So all these things, what you said to him, that's really true. And he would need to work on his body language and his inner thoughts during the match and how he expressed a lot, and that would come naturally. We scheduled yesterday with Canadian Sports Institute Ontario with a mental with experts in a mental preparation, cooperation. So that's going to be the first step. One thing is to listen to experts. One is to listen also to people who see this many times, like you did, like coaches around him. I think that he feels that people around him want him good. That's also very important for young players to understand. Nobody is that is giving critique is not really against him. You know, many players think, oh, you know, you tell me something that I need to change, it's against me, and to get defensive. So this first barrier, I think Jeremy passed. That helped him maturing. He would need to improve a lot on his serve. I spoke to him a lot, but I didn't see him in a game during this period. And I think it's any player who doesn't use this period to improve his serve, that's waste of time, because it's actually perfect opportunity. You know, serve is not it's partly coachable, but it's really more guidance from a coach, and it's relation between player and himself. You know, this is very individual technique, very individual things to develop, and he has a table at home. He should use this to improve his serve. Unfortunately, it looks like we will be in a very special conditions a few more months for sure, and still there is a time to work on it. If I would him, I would just try to understand myself playing, when is this moment when I could attack and when I should go back to my game that I like, you know, positioning myself. So positioning attack shouldn't be when you are desperate. Attack needs to have surprise, using really the opportunities. And I think now he's using this many times attack when he see, okay, I don't have any other solution, but I'm going back to my blocking because this is where I feel good and I win most of the points. So all this understanding, how can I put strategy when I need to get out of my confidence zone of blocking and doing something else, and this to become my new confidence zone, that's reserved for a players on a different level, and accepting that level and getting into this group of 100, he would be able to, I'm sure he would be able to accept all these changes. And that's one of many that I think that coaches around him and we have for him, and we need to go step by step. I mean, he has to go also step by step with this.
Okay, Jeremy, I will ask you to react, but before I want to tell you something. A long time ago, when I was a young coach, there was a player actually from Toronto. He was a very nice style player. And we had a coach from, actually Zlatko Čordas at that time, from the past Yugoslavia. Now he's in Croatia. He was here as a visiting coach at that time. He played at the tournament in Toronto called the CNE. And I asked him his opinion. We had a training camp, and I asked him, what do you think of these players? And one of the players he looked at, he said, this player is perfect. Like everything, technically, he's really good. Physically, he's fantastic, and so on. And I told him, this player is not even ranked in the top 20 in Canada. And then I showed him who were the number 1, number 2, number 3, and they all had lots of faults. And he said something to me very interesting. He says, you know, if a player has a lot of faults, but he knows how to win, this is the player that's going to go very far. If everything is perfect, but he loses in the matches, then this player is not going to go very high.
Yeah.
So in your case, you have a lot of faults. That's no doubt about it. But that's a good thing. It means that as you improve each one of these faults that Dejan mentioned, that you know yourself, that means you're going to go really amongst the best in the world, the top players.
Yes.
In the world. So having faults is a good thing in a sense for a player that knows how to win, because it means,
yeah, definitely for me it's a good thing.
So what do you think? What do you think you need to do now to top 50, let's say, in the world?
Okay, first of all, it is good that I can still make these kind of results and still have a lot of deficiencies in my game. That's the good news. Many people have told me I have a lot of faults in my game, and that even gives me even more room for improvement. So that's definitely a good thing. To get to top 50 in the world, for sure, I would kind of need a kind of special or different training program, a personalized program where I could be in a group. I could be in a group setting with also some individual help. So kind of, I cannot be, especially for me and my style, my personality, my traits, I don't think it would be beneficial for me to be put in the general population of a training group. I believe I do need a training group, different styles. I can play matches with them, train with them, but I also need a lot of personalized help. So I would actually say, in my opinion, I think maybe half day I can be in a group, and the other half day I can do some multi-balls or some special technique training, whereas I can get half group and half individual. We can combine it because throughout my career, I've had a lot of, that's how the system is at the moment in Canada, a lot of private lessons. So I think I could kind of move away from that by a little bit, also combining the aspect of private lesson or private help and also some group training. Yeah, actually, I can give an example. When I went to China last year, I was very fortunate to have Eugene there to help me. It's like the half day I would play in the group, where Eugene would also train actually in the group, in the general group. And then in the afternoon, he would actually spend the whole 2.5 hour session just to give me multi-ball. And in those 2.5 hour session, we can work on footwork, speed, and also technical stuff, serving, receiving. I think for me, because I'm 20, turning 21 next year in February, I'm still considered young, but also in a sense considered a bit older. So I feel like time is kind of running out. So if I want to be top 50 or even can be higher if possible, I really need a personalized program to boost my level in the most efficient and quickest period of time, especially with the Olympics, right? Because Olympics for now, I would say that's my short-term goal because it's coming in 6-7 months, actually 8 months, 7 to 8 months. So that's definitely what I want to do from now into the Olympics. I want to find some special training program I can train for 2 months or even 3 months where I can really excel my improvement. Then after the Olympic Games, we're going to look at long-term improvement. So then maybe I can do even more group training because long-term improvement, that's how you have to be in one place for a while before you see results. But definitely before Olympics, a short, condensed improvement program that can boost my performance and excel my performance. Definitely. That's what I think. Yeah.
That's very good what you said. Now we know about the group training because we've all done it, so that's not a secret. We practice with other players, different styles, different tempo, and so on. That's very important, of course, for you to do. Now the individualized training. You talked about motorball, but is there anything else that you see individualized training that you're doing? Is it only with a coach, or for example, with you need like a training partner to do specific exercises and so on? So how do you see the individualized training, and how do you see it? Let's say you start in February, let's say. So that's about,
as an example,
5 months before the Olympics, let's say.
Approximately.
How would you see that? Would it be somebody that stays at your house and you practice in the basement, or you're going to a club with a specific player or a specific coach? Like, try and describe it to me and Dayan, how you see it, and then we try to help you achieve it.
Well, first of all, eventually, even if we're not at this situation at the moment, even if there's not any vaccines available or the virus is not really getting better, there's eventually a time where we have no choice. Time is running out. We cannot just lock ourselves at home until the Olympics, right? So I hope the vaccine can come as fast as possible. It will be out soon, but I've never heard any news on priority being given to athletes. I hope that we can try to get some priority given, but for sure the healthcare workers and the vulnerable people first. But eventually I will have to be going out to train. Going out, I need to, definitely, before the Olympics, because you have players, all different styles. I can be playing someone from Asia, someone from Europe, even someone from Africa. So there's many different kinds of styles of players my first opponent could be. So I have to get ready for all kinds of styles to play against. Yeah.
Okay, but specifically the individualized training, how do you
individualized. Sorry, I forgot about that one. Individualized training, most of the time, it could be like with the trainer or coach, because the coach could also give you multi-ball or give you like small exercises where like you can make 1 or 2 ball combination. Something like, I want to improve my half long, let's say, for an example, right? The coach could serve me a half long ball, and I've done that a lot. The coach can serve me half long and then he blocks one full table. I just try to kill it, and then we put some broken balls on the corner so I can aim, practice placement also. Sometimes I can use an extra training partner where the other training partner can block for me and the coach can stand behind me. But normally it's fine just with the coach. I mean, unless, yeah, it's fine normally. I think it's good enough at the moment.
I understand. Dayan, you think this is a possibility?
That's for sure. We need to see whatever is possible. We don't have conditions like Chinese or like Swedish national team, so we need to see every possibilities that can our players improve. I think that Jeremy is facing now probably going to other countries for practicing. I believe that he is mature to handle himself. I think that he shouldn't break his relation with Eugene, because I saw him that really sometimes it's a turbulent relation, because it's Eugene is really also very hard, demanding coach, but it's giving its results, and I think that for him would be best if he used to practice outside a certain amount of months in a year and work on this individual preparation, and I would say mostly improving his technique, the way how he sees the game and everything when he comes back to Canada, a lot with Eugene. And eventually we can help him with other coaches who can comment his game online. You mentioned Zlatko Čordaš for Jeremy doesn't mean name anything, but that was one of the best blocker in the world at that time, who probably can understand the Jeremy's game. So people who can even see his game, on a video, I see him once in a live situation, they can give a lot of good comments, tips that coaches and him can use. It's invaluable, practically, comment, because they're seeing him only once. They are not subjective. I think all of us who work with the players tends to be subjective. We would like to see things certain way, or we want to see what we did is glorifying, okay, I work with footwork is very good now with my player. But sometimes, if you ask expert from outside, he sees things differently, and that can sometimes bring us back to reality. So we need to put all this program that can probably put annual evaluation to our best players and help our coaches through some kind of mentorship program, a specific mentorship program that our coaches can see better. It doesn't diminish their value as a coaches. I just think that can add to the value of the program. So I see that this is how direction that he has to do. Now going outside of the country is not so easy. He needs to prepare himself for social. It's always a shock. He has quite a good experience now being outside, as he mentioned, in China or Europe. But it's a very specific situation when you stay longer in one place, because you need to fight for your position in a group, for attention, for authority. That can be gained only by the quality of the game, not by talking, not by getting a special situation, because, now when you take a private lessons, the coach is with you by definition, because it's one-on-one. So you get all the attention. Getting in a group, as you said, it's a very specific and a good emotional intelligence exercise, a social intelligence exercise, how you get attention, how you get back. And I think that what we need to instruct Jeremy before he goes, and this is what I need to speak with the coaches here in Ontario working with Jeremy, is that when you said individual work, it's not always, Adam put very nicely, guiding us toward this. It's not only multi-balls training. You need to the players, and Chinese are very, very good with this. I spoke with Zheng Yaping at one moment, with Xiao Zhan, with the top Chinese players and coaches that I met, that how you get most from one exercise, even inside the group training. You understand this is your opponent, and then you are focused on your game, you are focused what you can get from this. So it's a very specific skills, what you can get most from this situation. I would just, because this is recording and I guess many national team players will watch this. I was in Qatar together with Jürgen Persson 1 year before Olympic game when he finished in a semi-final. And he was practicing all the time with very weak Qatari players, not even top 2, you know, with the number 4, 5, because they're practicing in academy. And he would practice with them only 1 hour. And I realized that he was very focused that 45 minutes, 1 hour that he's practicing. And then once I sent my 2 best players that I was working to practice with him, both time to play with him. Both times they came absolutely pissed because there is no other word. So when I asked, why don't you want to practice with him? He said, every single time I practice with him, I felt stupid. I said, like, why? Because it turns out that he was practicing, you know, this anticipation that he was hiding with his wrist to the last moment, his intention. And the players would always be hit or moved 10 centimeters more than what he expected. So that's what he recognized. I have a player who is probably 300-400 in the world level, and I'm most likely in top 20 at that moment, top 15. And he found out, okay, I can practice only back and pivot, and in the last moment with my wrist, I will change direction just 5-7 centimeters, which makes, you know, your player who practice with him totally out of touch after 30 minutes because he can never get on a ball with the right time. And then the players realize, you know, they were okay players, good relatively for Arab level, okay, they were Arab champions, junior champions. So they said they don't want to practice with you. But for Jürgen, understand, that's what this player can give me, and I will use this 30 minutes maximum. So once when he went back, you know, to practice with a stronger group, 6-7 months before Olympic Games for him was enough. So he then just skyrocketed because his experience allowed it. So this ability, you know, that when you get and you find what you can do in this moment, maximum for yourself. So it's a very specific skill. In a way, you're selfish, you're doing for yourself, but you're using the current environment. That's really a high level skill. I never really spoke. First time I'm talking to Jeremy now about this, on this. But that's also something that players need to understand. In a group, when I get to practice with that player, this is the best what I can do. This exercise is the best for me. This is within this exercise that I should do, you know, small details that I can take care and sharpen these details. Not just being happy or unhappy because this guy is 10 points better ranked than me or weaker. This is totally relevant. It's only relevant what you can do in this moment. And that's I think is something that probably he would need a little bit of guidance. He needs to visit the group when he goes to be there and be more in touch with Jeremy and help him to go over this at the beginning. But this is something what I would recommend to all Canadian players, because our national team players still don't have a culture of giving and taking in a group. They're most about recognition, you know, like how group recognize me, or totally relevant, you know, really for a point of improvement, that's totally relevant. Like it's really possible to practice almost with anyone if you want to focus, maybe not for a long term, you know, for the full year, but you know, at that given training in a given week, you can really improve almost with anyone. So that's a specific skill that needs to be learned.
Yeah. Top players do that, obviously, because if you're the best in the world, it means you're always practicing with people.
There is nobody to practice with Zhang Jike or with Malone, but they still practice with someone, you know.
Yes. Okay, now to come back to Jeremy's request.
Yes, I have some
individualized thing. This, what I can promise you, Jeremy, is that from the Table Tennis Canada point of view, we have a meeting next week, the board meeting. We will allocate a specific budget for the Olympic qualifiers, specifically to Eugene and Mo, and also Eugene and Mo in mixed doubles, because we think also they have a chance.
Of course, they have a very good chance,
But for you, what we have to think is your age. You just said you're 20 years old. That means you can still go to the Olympics when you're 24, 28, even 30.
Oh, yeah, I have a bright future ahead of me. Yeah.
So we're looking at long term, and we want you to go on a good start. That means that when you're at this Olympic Games, you're focused, you get the best result you can get, whatever that is. And we don't say after, oh, if we would have done this, if we would have done this, he would have performed better. So this I can promise you, we will find together with Dayan some kind of a special budget. We don't know when you're going to go to Europe for training because of the pandemic. So I think that already we can start in beginning of February to have some kind of special person, let's say, whether it's Eugene, whether it's somebody else that can focus.
Sure, yeah, February, that's a good target date.
The Olympic Games. Then if you're going to a training camp or something in Europe, or you're going to play in a club in Europe or something like this, as Dayan said, then we would allocate somebody there to be your guide or your mentor and to make sure that you're training properly. Even sending whoever that individual coach that you were training with to come with you. The example you gave in China is very good. I didn't know that that was done like that. That's fantastic. So
it's not just some general training. It was general training combined with specific help. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be China. It can be anywhere. It can be Europe. It could be Japan, Korea. You know, all countries have their own benefits in training. But the key is also someone to guide me, whether it's here or there. That's not really important. They're all good, actually.
Got the message. So for you, the most important thing before the Olympics is to have this individual kind of focused training, in addition to group training, combination of both. But you need the individual one because that's what you've been used to doing since you were.
Then after that, I can probably go back to more group training for long term, right? Sure. Short term, more individualized, right?
Yeah, to try and boost your level.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, now we spent a lot of time. We've spent half an hour, but you can see Dan and I, we talk a lot, and your input really is quite good, and we will continue to talk to you offline, of course, and try to find the best solution for you between now and July 2021.
Definitely.
So, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Dayan.
So just to say, Jeremy, President expected to play like Samsonov, so you have a you have a high bar now, just that you know.
Yes, no problem. I always work to the expectation.
It's how should I say? Samsonov should be happy that we said that Jeremy plays like him.
Of course.
It's a compliment to Samsonov.
Oh, no.
Okay, Thorsten, back to you.
That was fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. And thanks, Jeremy, for being so open and sharing your thoughts and everything else.
No problem.
Diane and Adam was great insights as well. And I think good things are going to happen. And Jeremy is going to make us proud for sure. So thank you very much, everybody. And stay tuned. We'll definitely come up with more interviews in the future. And have a good day, everybody.